In 1855, the forests of eastern India held a region known as the Daman-e-Ko. For the Santhal people, these woods provided a completely self-sustaining agrarian life. They farmed what they needed, respected the soil, and maintained an existence tied to their ancestors. But an expanding empire requires resources. Look at this map of the Bengal region. To the British colonial government and local zamindars, this untouched geography was an unexploited zone on a ledger, ready to be integrated into British India. The integration began with immediate friction. Colonial authorities imposed strict, mandatory cash taxes on every Santhal household. The timing was brutal. The region was suffering a severe drought, and local harvests completely failed. This administrative move converted sacred ancestral soil into a taxable corporate asset, tethering the forest and its people to the British treasury. To pay these new colonial taxes, the desperate Santhal farmers had to turn somewhere for cash. The zamindars were ready with an engineered solution: predatory loans. A Santhal farmer takes a modest loan of 100 rupees for taxes. Through hidden interest rates, moneylenders instantly manipulate that sum into an unpayable debt of 500 rupees. When the farmer inevitably defaults, the moneylender invokes colonial law to seize the land entirely. This photograph shows the scale of what replaced their food. Once dispossessed, the Santhals were barred from growing rice. Instead, they were forced into captive labor on their own land, tasked entirely with processing indigo, a highly profitable blue dye destined for British export. You cannot eat indigo. With their food supply eradicated and their labor consumed by cash crops from sunrise to sunset, Santhal families faced imminent starvation. The mechanics of the debt trap were complete. The Santhals were presented with a stark choice: starve quietly under a fabricated debt, or resist. Two brothers, Sidhu and Kanhu, recognized the flaw in the colonial system. The British maintained control by keeping individual villages isolated, terrified, and convinced they were fighting the zamindars alone. The brothers needed to unite these fractured communities. They set an objective to organize a massive assembly at the village of Bhagnati, but they had to do it under the radar of British surveillance and local informants. Their solution relied on indigenous infrastructure. Look closely at the tension bindings on this drum. Instead of written letters that could be intercepted, the brothers used these traditional instruments to broadcast complex coded rallying cries from one village to the next, covering miles of dense forest instantly. The acoustic network bypassed the colonial authorities completely. Within days, thousands of Santhals successfully converged at Bhagnati to pledge mutual support. The movement began as a massive, highly disciplined economic strike, with thousands of laborers simultaneously walking away from the indigo fields and halting the local flow of commerce. By emptying the fields, the Santhals crippled the local colonial economy. They proved they had the logistical capacity to halt the British machine simply by acting together. With no workers in the fields and tax revenue frozen across dozens of villages, the local administration saw its authority dissolve within weeks. Facing a total breakdown of the economic machine, the British responded by escalating the dispute into a full-scale military conflict. This archival photo captures the technological disparity of the conflict. The British deployed heavily armed infantry and a long line of field artillery cannons against Santhal forces equipped almost entirely with traditional bows and arrows. Sidhu and Kanhu knew they would be massacred in an open field. Their counter-strategy was to retreat, forcing the British columns to abandon the flat farmland and pursue them into the thick, unfamiliar underbrush of the Daman-e-Ko forests. Once the British entered the woods, the Santhals initiated a series of coordinated, asymmetric ambushes. Using their deep knowledge of the terrain, they broke the rigid British formations, striking swiftly from the shadows and disappearing back into the trees. The physical environment did the heavy lifting. The dense tree cover and uneven ground completely neutralized the long-range targeting and explosive advantage of the British artillery cannons. For months, the Santhals' mastery of their local geography outmaneuvered standard, rigid imperial military doctrine. But the British Empire possessed endless logistical reserves. Unable to win tactically in the forest, the military utilized sheer numerical superiority, continually bringing in fresh reinforcements to slowly encircle the entire region. The wide net steadily closed. The shrinking perimeter cut off the Santhals from their supplies, leading to the eventual capture, trial, and execution of the brothers Sidhu and Kanhu. The logistical toll on the empire was immense. Suppressing a population of farmers required tens of thousands of regular troops and months of sustained, costly combat. Despite the casualties, the Santhal identity remained rooted in that soil. Their collective sacrifice established a historical claim to the land that outlasted the zamindars and the British administrators. The battle cry "Hold Johar" persists as a historical blueprint for indigenous resistance, rooted in the same drumbeats that once echoed through the Dominico.